Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with A Little Princess. Chapter 10, What Melchizedek Heard and Saw. On that same afternoon while Sara was out, a strange thing happened in the attic. Only Melchizedek saw and heard it. He was so alarmed and mystified that he scooted back to his hole and hid there. The attic had been very still all day after Sara had left early in the morning. The stillness had only been broken by the rain drumming on the roof slates and the skylight. Melchizedek had, in fact, found it rather dull. When the rain let up and all was silent, he decided to come out and see what was going on. Everyone had taught him that Sara would not return home for some time. He had been sniffing about when his attention was attracted by a sound on the roof. He stopped to listen with a pounding heart. It sounded as if something or someone was moving on the roof in the direction of the skylight. Whoever it was getting closer and closer. Then, quite mysteriously, the overhead window opened. A face peered into the attic. Then another face appeared. Two men outside the roof was preparing to enter the skylight. One was Ram Dass, and the other was Mr. Careford's secretary, but of course Melchizedek didn't know this. He only knew that the men were invading the silence and privacy of his attic. Ram Dass let himself come through the opening with such ease that he did not make the slightest sound. Melchizedek turned tail and fled headlong back to his hole, frightened to death. He had ceased to be afraid of Sara, as he knew she would never throw anything but crumbs. However, strange men were frightening creatures and unpredictable at least. Alarmed but alert, the nervous fellow lay flat on his stomach near the entrance of his home, just managing to peep through the crack. Mr. Careford's secretary, who was young and slim, dropped through the skylight as silently as Ram Dass had done. He caught a glimpse of Melchizedek's vanishing tail. "Was that a rat?" he asked Ram Dass in a whisper. "Yes, a rat, Sahib," answered Ram Dass, also whispering. "There are many in these walls." "Ugh," said the young man with a grimace. "It's a wonder our young lady is not terrified of them." Ram Dass smiled knowingly. Even though he had only spoken to her once, he had come to the attic as a friend and protector for Sara. "This girl is not like girls her age," he explained to the secretary. "I see her when she does not see me. Night after night I slip to the roof and look in to make sure she is safe. I watch her from my window. And when she does not know I am near, she stands on the table there and looks out at the sky. The sparrows come to her call, so does the rat she has fed and tamed her loneliness." "Does she have any friends?" Mr. Careford's secretary asked. "The poor scullery maid of the house comes for her comfort," Ram Dass told him. "There's also young classmates who visit her in secret, and an older one who worships her and would listen to her stories forever if she could. But the headmistress of the school, who is an evil woman, treats Sara like an outcast, the girl who has the bearing of a young lady with the blood of kings in her veins." "You seem to know a great deal about her," the secretary commented. "I make sure I see how she spends the day," answered Ram Dass. "I know when she's going out and coming in. And about her joys and sorrows, and about her hunger. I know when she sits alone until midnight learning from her books. I know when her friends sneak in to see her in secret and she's happier. If she were to fall ill, I would know and would come try and help her." "I'm concerned about something," the secretary said. "Are you sure that no one comes out here but this young girl and that she will not return suddenly and surprise us? I think she would be very frightened if she found us here, and Mr. Careford's plan would be ruined." "No one ever comes up here but Sara," Ram Dass said, hurrying to the door. "She has gone to run errands and may be away for hours. If I stand here, I will hear her before she reaches the top of the stairs." Satisfied that they would have enough privacy, the secretary took a pencil and notepad from his coat pocket. Slowly he walked around the miserable room and began making notions on his pad as he observed conditions there. First he went to the narrow bed and pressed his hand against the mattress. "As hard as stone," he said. "There will have to be change. We have to make a special trip to bring a new mattress across the roof." Then he lifted up the bedspread and examined one thin pillow. "Covered dingy and worn blanket thin. Sheets patched and rag," he commented. "What a terrible bed for a girl to sleep in, and in a house that calls itself respectable. I can tell there hasn't been a fire in that grate for many a day." There hasn't been one since I've been checking, Ramdas answered. The head mistress is not one to think of the comforts of others. As the secretary made more quick notes on his pad, he asked, by the way, who planned all of this? It was my idea at first, Ramdas explained. You see, I have grown fond of this sweet girl. You're both lonely. One way she's surprised when life is difficult is imagine a happier situation. And she tells her friends about her imaginings. One night, I lay close to the skylight and listened. My fantasy was about a miserable attic, what might be like with some comforts. As she talked to me, more and more cheerful. The next day, to raid Mr. Careford's spirits, I told him that I heard this imaginary girl say. He found it very interesting. He decided to make then and there to make the things she imagined a reality. Do you think you'd be done while she sleeps? I can move as if my feet were velvet, Ramdas assured him. Besides, young people sleep soundly, even the unhappy ones. I could have entered this room at night many times without waking her. If I have a helper, he could pass me through the window. I could do it, and she would not stir until morning. She would just think a magician has been here. Two men smiled in anticipation of the exciting project that lay ahead. It will be like a story from the Arabian Nights, Ramdas said. The intruders did not remain in the attic very long. The young secretary was interested in everything. He wrote down numerous details about the floor, the fireplace, the broken footstool, the old table and the walls, which had been nails sticking out in places. You could hang things on them, the secretary said. Ramdas smiled. Yesterday when she was out, she said, I came in here with small, sharp nails, which had pressed into the wall without any noise at all, without the use of a hammer. I placed many of them with plaster where I may need them. These are all ready. I think I have made enough notes so we can go now, the secretary said, tucking his notebook in his pocket. Sahib cares for it, has a warm heart. It's such a shame that he has not found the lost girl. If he should find her, I think he would be well in no time at all, said Ramdas. With that, the men slipped through the skylight as silently as they entered. Later, when Sara passed the house next door, she saw Ryan Class close the shutters. She caught a glimpse of the drawing room. There was an unusual bright fire glowing in the grate. Mr. Carrisford was sitting in front of his fire. His head was resting on his hand. He looked as lonely and as unhappy as ever. Poor man, said Sara. I wonder what you are supposing. Suppose, he was thinking, that Carmichael traces the people to Moscow. The young girl from Madame Pascal's school in Paris might still not be the one we're searching for. What steps should I take then? Of course, Sara had no idea what this poor, distracted man was thinking. When Sara entered the boarding school, she met Miss Minchin, who had come downstairs to scold the cook. Where have you been? She shouted at Sara. You've been gone for hours. It was muddy, Sara answered. It's hard for me to walk very fast when the schools are old and worn when they slip off. Make no excuses to me, Miss Minchin snapped, and tell no lies. Sara hurried onto the kitchen to see the cook, who had just received a talk to and was in a terrible mood as a result. Here were the things you ordered, Sara told her, fighting exhaustion. May I have something to eat? Well, there's some bread in the pantry, she said. That's all you get this time of day. Sara hurried home to find the bread, but it was old and hard and dry, and cook was in no mood to gather anything to eat with it. She was so hungry and tired she could barely climb the 3 long flights of stairs to the attic. When she reached the top, she saw a glimmer of light coming through the door. Now, who could that be? She wondered. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.